Greetings of the day, everyone. I am privileged to welcome you all into the first children's edition of Orange City Literature Festival, organized by SGR Knowledge Foundation in association with GH Raisoni University, powered by Raisoni Group of Institutions. The motive behind this fest is to explore the ways that should help students develop emotional intelligence. Exposing children to quality literature can contribute to the creation of responsible, successful, and caring individuals. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Tufel to please introduce the topic and the speaker.
Thank you, Siddharth. So, ladies and gentlemen, and our young audience, and all the teachers across this globe and nation, today's session is about reflective teaching. Reflective teaching is a process through which teachers analyze their instructional practices. Through reflective teaching, teachers are able to understand what areas might be improved or changed for better learning outcomes. So, this session will be all about understanding how a reflective teaching is important and make a plus teacher. And for this, we have eminent speaker for today, Miss Zarin Virji ma'am. So let me introduce the speaker to the audience. Ma'am is a creative writing graduate from a University of Sheffield, follows her passions of teaching and writing. For over 3 decades, she has played the role of a teacher trainer, and head of a school. From 1996 to 2006, she has edited the journal Classroom, us feelings, as it is about grappling with socio-economic realities of our time. Her poetry and her short stories have been featured in publications such as The Research Scholar, Route 57, and the Best Asian Short Stories of 2018. She published her first child book, Gopal's Gully, in 2021. We are glad and we welcome you, ma'am. So
Thank
without
you.
any further ado, I hand over session to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tofil. And warm greetings to everyone, especially my dear teachers. We belong to the same fraternity. And my greetings have to be warm because the summer is raging all over our country, right? Yes. So really, this is a topic that is very close to my heart, and that's why I'm happy to share my thoughts on this. So I think we can start with the presentation.
Yes, ma'am. I'll just start with the
Sophie?
presentation.
I think all of us want teachers to be the best, don't we? Because we know only an excellent teacher can nurture excellent children. And in my mind, only a reflective teacher can be that kind of excellent teacher. So let's look at what is this whole process of reflection. Okay. So I think we all know that, and some or the other time we do reflect. So it is about giving serious and careful thought to whatever one is doing, thinking, planning, and introspection, which is very closely aligned, is all about examination of and attention to one's ideas, one's thoughts, one's feelings, and one's actions, as that image shows you. But it's not only about looking at one's head, it's also about looking at one's heart. Shall we proceed to the next slide? Now, this is a question that I would like to ask to the audience. Is it essential to be a reflective person in order to be a reflective teacher? And I don't know what you think, Tofil, but I think definitely yes, because one cannot compartmentalize One cannot say I will be non-reflective in other areas of my life and I will be reflective as a teacher, right? It has to be a very coherent picture that one presents. So one has to be reflective in every single area of one's life, personal as well as professional. And a very wise man, Socrates, has said, the unexamined life is not worth living. Let's see the next slide, please. So, what are you going to be reflecting about? What are you going to be aware about? Okay. So, when I talk of self awareness, I'm talking about one's daily actions, one's deep seated values, attitudes, and beliefs, and the continuous need to improve oneself. Because this is something, that is that has to become a process, just as one takes a daily bath, right? Or all those things that we do daily. I think this reflective process has to become part of one's DNA. And if you notice, you will find that self-awareness and reflection are cyclic in nature, okay? They are closely aligned, they are continuous, and one cannot do without the other. Next, please. Yeah, so what do you do? How do you, how do you make it happen? What I have found useful is to read something inspirational, right? To feed one's spirit, and then to spend time in silence, a minimum of 20 minutes every day. It's best at the start of the day. But if that is not possible, at any time where one can create a little quiet space for oneself, writing down thoughts is a useful practice because, then you can go back to it. So whether it is in a notebook, in a diary, or on your mobile phone or any device, I think it's good if those thoughts are recorded. And another useful practice is to compare it with some absolute principles, because if one sees, relatively speaking, maybe I may be better than X or I may be worse than Y. But we are not looking at those kinds of comparisons, right? One should look at something unchanging, some kind of principles which are universal. For example, when we talk of purity, honesty, unselfishness, and love, I think these are the kinds of principles that are perhaps common across cultures and also across time. And when one has done that, one is able to connect to one's conscience or to the universal spirit, to one's God, whatever you would like to call it. One is able to see oneself very plainly and make corrections and seek direction for what is best for oneself and what is best for others. I think this again is subtle, because sometimes you look only at your self-interest or your self-growth, ignoring others. But I think you have to find that perfect balance where your self-growth is not at the expense of others, but really leads to goodness all around. Let's look at the tools for self-reflection. I think while masking is very important in a COVID situation, I think I'm not talking of that masking, but the other masks that we often wear through life and through our different roles that we all assume, you know, as a teacher, as a parent, as a student, as whatever. But I think can we unmask and take a very critical look at oneself? And with this daily practice, the self-awareness gets heightened and one becomes aware of one's assumptions and prejudices. I talked of journaling earlier. Journaling is a very useful practice that many successful people follow. The other is to look for feedback from one's colleague, from one's family, from one's students. I think most institutes now do believe in the 360-degree feedback, don't they? And of course, we have now technology that can support us. So we can look at video, audio recording of our classroom sessions, which also tell us very plainly what is going well and what is not going so well. So if you're not already a reflective teacher, I'll say make the switch and see the beauty of reflective teaching. So let's take a look at that. So what is this process? It's a process of collecting, recording, and analyzing everything that happens in a classroom, in the school, in the college. It takes teachers from experience to questioning and understanding and an aha moment. I'm sure to feel you must have had aha moments in your life, right? That is the time where something, the penny drops and you know exactly what you have been seeking, or you know exactly where you need to make a change. And I think that is best when it is done for oneself rather than somebody else pointing it out. Because it's always difficult, um, you know, to take it from another person. Okay, yeah, let's move on. So reflective teaching very clearly is a process of self-observation and self-evaluation. Looking at one's teaching learning behavior, developing an understanding and insight about the delivery of lessons and using this information to make improvements in instruction design and one's personality traits, and to feel, you know, as one does one's teacher training, this is the first thing that happens, right? That there is a feedback form given to the trainee teacher where she or he does a self-reflection, goes through a peer reflection, and then goes through a reflection from the supervisor. So in this manner, the teacher trainee is helped to develop one's ability to teach, to transact instruction. Unfortunately, often that process ends as soon as the person is out of the training college. And this is where I come in and say, this is a process that should be lifelong, and it needn't end at the training college, but it really should go across one's entire career. Okay? So what are the characteristics of reflective teachers? And this is what where I would like to ask the audience, take a minute and think, are you one of these? And if not, can you develop some of these characteristics? So one is to be enthusiastic, dynamic, and a lifelong learner. Aware, very, very clearly aware of the context, whether it is cultural or otherwise, of one's classroom. Open-minded. I think often we get very defensive and very closed when we hear anything critical, right? And we try and justify our behavior. But this is where we need to make this kind of openness, be vulnerable. It's okay. Nobody is perfect, least of all a teacher, right? So be open in receiving correction and seeing multiple perspectives. Wholehearted. Take it. And don't beat yourself up about the negative feedback. Come on, we are only human. So it's very, very natural that we will slip up. We will err in judgment. We will err in our actions. It's fine if we are willing to learn. And let's be focused on what is right rather than who is right. So, self-reflection on classroom culture. I'm not going through all those points to feel because there are too many, but I hope you will share this presentation with our audience, okay? So they can really reflect on these. I'm just going to take a few. The first one says, were the students willing to take risks? Try something new. Okay. Another one says, did I give students equal attention during the lesson? A third one says, was I happy teaching this lesson? So these are all pointers. These are some, there could be a lot more, and a good reflective teacher will be able to develop one's own pointers. Okay. Let's see the next one. What about the reflection on the planning and preparation? So what were my goals for this lesson? What did I want the students to know, understand, and be able to do as a result of this lesson? Why did I plan the learning experience as a way to achieve my goals? Was I prepared for today's lesson? Did I have all the materials ready, organized? Yeah. And then the actual lesson delivery. What went well? To what extent were my students engaged? What did I do to engage my students and get them excited about the beginning, about the process? Did I have small group learning, individual learning? Did I use methods that were engaging, right? I mean, there is so much. One can go on and on about this. Okay, let's look at the next one. Peer collaboration. Now, this is again an area I feel that unfortunately we don't focus much on. But 2 plus 2 is not 4. 2 plus 2 is 5 or 10, right? So synergy is very important. And we are lucky as teachers that we have a team. And often we are fearful because we feel if we ask for help, it may show our weakness. I don't think that is the case. I think it really enlarges one's vision, and one is able to deliver far more. So, what kind of culture do we have in the staff room? Do I know each one? Do I care for each one? Do I help and take help? Do we share honest feedback, or we are worried about stepping on each other's toes? Ego is, something that comes up and unfortunately stops learning happening. Do I feel comfortable with team teaching? So these are again questions I would like the audience to ask yourself, and I hope you're able to answer yes. And if you're not able to answer yes, I would say, well, go ahead, make a change. Right. Let's professional development. This again is something we need to concentrate on. Am I in touch with current affairs? Do I read at least one book a month? Do I attend workshops for professional training? And not just attend, but imbibe whatever new things I have learned. Innovate. Am I adding skills, new skills, picking up attitudes which are positive? Am I part of online professional groups? Here again, I'll say, let's move towards answering yes to these questions. The closer we'll get, I know I'm talking of ideal things, and I know sometimes time is a factor that we are all, we all have very little of. But here again, I will say, if you are a teacher, this is what you need to do. This is really something that needs to be done. So look at yourself. Are you meant to be a teacher? And if you're meant to be a teacher, can you move towards these things? Yeah. So as John Dewey has very rightly said, we do not learn from experience. All of us go through daily experiences. We went through an experience right now, didn't we, Tofil, with our technical glitches? But we learn only if we reflect on the experience. Okay, so again, the bottom line is reflection. So here we have some sites that you can go to and learn more about it. Okay, there is also a questionnaire which is very beautiful and which will help our audience to reflect on their classroom planning, delivery, and so on.
Ma'am, you want me to start this questionnaire?
Yes, Tofil?
You want me to start this questionnaire on reflective teaching?
Maybe we can just take a glance at it.
Absolutely. I'll just take a quick glance on it.
Yes.
Ma'am, I need an access over this.
Okay.
Or if you can just click on by your own and you can give some references to the audience, ma'am, by your own.
Sorry.
Ma'am, you can just click on any of the questions or you can just read out the questions or questionnaire to the audience, ma'am.
Yes, I think Tofil, actually, I have covered a lot of it already. Okay.
Absolutely.
So it's very similar. It's just very detailed and very comprehensive. So I think you can share the link with our audience.
Definitely, ma'am. So you want me to start with the question answers that we have for you, ma'am?
Sure. I'm looking forward to that.
So after this session, I can say that reflective teaching is the need of an hour, ma'am. So, but this is required in the education system, and recently we have changed with our education system, ma'am. That is National Education Policy. So, ma'am, what does this NEP says about reflective teaching, ma'am? Is there any clauses or is there anything about it?
Yes, in fact, the NEP talks a lot about it because the NEP, for example, talks about improving school culture. Okay. And when we talk about school culture, uh, this becomes very significant because we are talking about maximizing the abilities of teachers to be more efficient in delivery. And this cannot happen without reflection, right?
Absolutely, ma'am.
The other point the NEP makes is about a positive learning environment. Again, a positive learning environment will happen when we are building caring and inclusive communities, not just among teachers or faculty, but all the stakeholders in the school system. NEP focuses majorly on social and emotional learning. And this has to do with social emotional learning, right? Because this positive learning environment makes everybody very happy. And a happy learner is able to digest, is able to internalize, is able to learn without stress, without pressure, which is what we are looking at. The NEP also focuses largely on professional development, on opportunities for self-improvement to be provided to teachers. So I think all these things convey very clearly how the NEP is closely aligned to what I'm talking about.
Definitely. So this goes to my second question, ma'am, that you have already said this to the audience that we need to bring the feedback system and the one has to go with the self-reflection. So all these are the ways to go with the reflective teaching way. So we have not even covered and we want to know more about what are the benefits of reflective teaching and how it is going to be useful in future, ma'am.
Yes. So, uh, I'm sure you have now figured out what are the benefits, right? Um, it first of all, it enhances your teaching ability. A great sort of improvement. You just feel good, okay? And when you feel good, you're able to give more to others. It develops trust. among your colleagues. It develops trust between teacher and students. And without love and trust and compassion, I think no teaching learning can happen. Yeah. It develops humility in the teacher, because then the teacher knows that I'm not always right. There is scope for improvement. So one is always grounded. It helps one to understand one's learners. And remember, this is a journey. A reflective teacher's life is a journey. And this journey, the teacher is going to share with her or his students, right? So in turn, what is happening? Reflective learners are born. Okay, so that one action by the teacher has a ripple effect, and many learners begin their own reflective journey.
With this, I can say that reflective teaching has just advantages and no disadvantages, ma'am. So, how can we introduce this reflective teaching culture in in the schools? Like, who must take the initiative? Is it just the teacher side, or is it from the student side as well? Like just you said, there should be an aha moments as well, ma'am.
So you're so right, Tofil. I would say, of course, the head of the institute has to be a role model, right? If the head of the institute, whether it is the principal, the director, whatever you call it, if that person really believes and practices this, uh, this is going to percolate down, not just down, across, right? I'm sure you have heard of this concept of servant leadership. Servant leadership is where you live to make the other person great. You deflect attention from yourself. You are not the queen bee, but you want every single person who is part of your team to develop, to shine, and even to outshine yourself. Also, provide time for reflection. So when you hold meetings, or even in the classroom, you could have a little bit of teaching and then say, okay, let's reflect on what we have learned. Let's see what each one has got from this lesson. So, that way you are actually role modeling what reflection is all about when you provide opportunities to faculty and to students. The other is share and invite honest feedback. Now, often we see that heads of institutes are not open to receiving feedback from their colleagues, right? In my own experience, I can say that I have benefited so much when my colleagues have told me something that I may be doing wrong or that I could improve upon. I have taken it, and my respect for the colleague has gone up, because I know then this person is genuine and not just interested in, just kowtowing to my whims and fancies. Give credit to others. Okay. There are so many people in the team who are working well. I think they should be in the limelight rather than the head of the institute. The head is performing a certain role, that's fine. But is the head helping others to grow and shine. And express gratitude often. I think, again, all these things, if you role model, soon the entire team begins to function like that. And that positivity spreads to every single person associated with the institute.
Wow, I'm just amazed, ma'am, with this characteristics, ma'am. So, with moving to this, I just have one more question. That is on your book, ma'am. That is Gopal's Gully.
Yes.
Such a marvelous book. I just gone through all the pages, everything before this session. So, ma'am, did your reflective nature help you to write this book?
Yes, I would say definitely yes, right? Because this book happened because of the setting. Uh, so I used to pass this particular locality daily, and I noticed some things there, which were quite unique. And that's what made me think that what if there's a little boy who lives here? What kind of adventures would he have? Whom would he meet? Who would be his friends? What would be his challenges? And that just set me off thinking, and I began to make little notes, that perhaps this would happen and that would happen and so on. And that's how the book happened. So I can show you the book. I have it right here. And I think it's a delightful book, not only for children, but also for adults. I think it's a book about a child, but I think anybody can enjoy it. That's the feedback I have received.
Wow, amazing. Moving to my last question, and that is a personal question, ma'am. Like from my personal experience, I would like to ask one that with these days, ma'am, like the passing years of our education, when we grow up, we realize that whatever is there in the books is completely different from the reality, ma'am. The concepts, like when it comes to the doctors, they know there are skin layers, but when they come to the operation theater, they know that there's a different things as well. So when it comes to law, the law in books is absolutely different when it comes to reality. So for that, ma'am, how do you incorporate collaborative this project-based learning, ma'am? Like, do you think this is a part of a reflective learning? It should be the part of reflective.
Certainly, certainly. Uh, Project-based learning is one of my favorite ways of learning. Okay. And you may be surprised that I have done project-based learning even with very little children. Okay. And I'm talking of preschool children. Um, and not only project-based learn, there are many kinds. But there is one which I particularly like and believe in, and that is the one propagated by Lillian Katz and Sylvia Shard, two educators, where they help teachers to look at emerging curriculum. And emerging curriculum can again only happen if a teacher is open and if a teacher is listening keenly to what is going on in the classroom. So, for example, let me give you an example. Once we had a child in the class who was soon going to have a baby brother, his mother was expecting a child. And so this boy would come and talk about the mum and the mum's growing stomach and so on. Now, the teacher in the class picked this up because she was used to having circle times where the children shared what happens at home, whatever is significant. And the teacher picked this up and said, maybe this should be our project for the next few months. So we took this up and we looked at a very age appropriate level, right? Because these were very little children. But still, we looked at how human life develops and how the baby is born. And then we made a visit to the home when the baby had come, and we saw how the baby was growing every month, what were the changes happening. And for a whole year, we observed all these things. And so much of math, language, science, everything came through the child's interest. And then, of course, children were not able to write, but whatever they said, the teacher captured it in writing, and they were able to draw. So that's how we captured what they had learned. So yes, project-based learning is tremendous.
Absolutely, ma'am. It has to become a part of teaching and learning. And I'm sure just like me, the audience is going to take a lot of with them together and with them at home. The information that I have taken, one sentence on that I'm going to definitely carry, that a self-reflection has to be a coherent picture. You have to be reflective in all areas of life, ma'am. So I am taking this home definitely today. And thank you so much for being with us. What a fantastic and an informative session, ma'am. Indeed, I must say that to all the audience to please go and buy this book, Gopal's Gully, and read it. You're going to definitely going to love this book. It is a pleasure being with you, ma'am, for this session. Now I
Thank
hand
you.
over the Siddharth to please go with the conclusion
I
note.
enjoyed our conversation, Tufil, and I wish you
Thank
all
you
the
so much,
best
ma'am.
in your career.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure being a part of this session. I once again thank you, ma'am, and the audience in the form of system. Get ready for the quiz based on the session and visit www.oclfnagpur.com to participate in a quiz and win exciting gifts and prizes. A gigantic Orange City Literature Festival will be back in November 2022 in Nagpur, the city of oranges. Get ready for the physical fest in the coming winter, attending awesome sessions and interacting with your favorite author. Keep following us for the update of Festival of Words. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
ma'am.
Yeah, I wish all the best to the Lit Fest.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. We hope to see you there, ma'am, as well.
Yes, certainly. Bye bye.
Bye bye, ma'am. Thank you so much.